Hello, everybody. How are you? How is everything in your world? Hey, it's time for another Lyrics Explained. Now, I just did a reaction video to the song The End of All Things by Panic at the Disco, performing live in Cleveland by popular request. Several people asked me to react to that video. So, in tandem with that, I thought I'd do a lyrics explained video where I explain the lyrics of this gorgeous song. Now, it's an older song in terms of Panic at the Disco's career. Of course, now they have a #1 hit right now in the charts. But this song came from the album Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die from 2013. Of course, Panic at the Disco were childhood friends that grew up together and formed a band. And at this point, Brendon Urie, the lead singer, is the only remaining original member. But he married his wife Sarah in Malibu in 2013 and wrote this song as a tribute to her to express his feelings of love for her. It's a very simple song. The instrumentation is very sparse, as are the lyrics, as we're going to find out right now. So let's kick into it. It's verse 1, whether near or far. This is the entire verse, 4 lines. Whether near or far, I am always yours. Any change in time, we are young again. What he's talking about is that as a musician, as a highly popular, internationally successful musician, he's always going to be on the road. Plus, she has her life, and so they're many times are going to be separated. But whether near or far, I am always yours. Any change in time, we are young again. So that refers to their practice of sleeping in either overnight or for a quick nap in cryogenic tubes. Now, cryogenics is where you can stand in a cryogenic tube. Sometimes you lie down, but most of the time you stand in. It looks like you're getting in a hot water heater, is what it looks like. But what cryogenics is lowering the temperature of refrigeration so that it goes beyond refrigeration into the state of cryogenics. And what it does is it reverses aging. That's why Brendon Urie and his wife look so young. He's in his 30s. I don't know if she is, but they both look like they're 10, 11, 12 years old. That's because of the cryogenics. Now, it's expensive, but they are, I'm assuming at this point, I don't know, have the funds because of the success of the band to engage in this lifestyle and to keep their aging 10, 15 years below that of their chronological peers. Any change in time, it doesn't matter what time zone that he's in, he's saying, we are young again every time they get into the tube. So he flies with his own cryogenic tube all over the world, and sometimes he'll be in it right before he goes out on stage because he wants to look the youngest, the freshest that he can before he goes on stage. Sometimes he has to have a double treatment in certain cities like Cleveland, where that video was shot, where I did the reaction video. That was the reaction to a show in Cleveland. Certain cities have such high pollution levels, he has to take a double time in the cryogenic tube because those cities will tend to age you a little faster just based on their industrial history. All right, so let's go right into the chorus. Lay us down, we're in love. Lay us down, we're in love. This stems from at their wedding in Malibu. They wanted it to make it unique, quirky, and fun. So they set up trampolines for both husband and wife, for both bride and groom, to bounce on while the priest or minister or leader, spiritual leader, whoever was leading the ceremony, while they were performing the ceremony, the bride and groom would bounce on the trampolines. Now, what happens when you bounce on the trampoline? You get excited, you want to do a flip, you try to do a backflip, and what happens? You go flying off. You go flying off. So that's what they're saying. When we go flying off, we're gonna just ask you to lay us down, give us a minute to gather our breath, okay? And then we're gonna get back on the trampoline and continue with the ceremony. Now, it did get a little dicey because the people in the family and friends that were watching their ceremony were in these white chairs. It was an outdoor ceremony, uh, real close to where the bride and groom were standing, and in this case, bouncing. So there were a couple of close calls where either Brendon or his wife Sarah did a backflip and crashed close to some of their friends and relatives. Now, if you're young and you've been to NBA games and you've had a seat close to the action, you're used to, perhaps an NBA player go flying into the crowd because they're going for a loose ball or something. But if you're older, and maybe some of the people in that audience were older in that ceremony, they're not used to sometimes a flying body come crashing toward them. So it got a little dicey, but they said to their security team, just lay us down. And I think they extended that to any audience members that felt any fear, or if they were actually injured from people from the bride and groom flying off the trampolines into the crowd. Just lay us down, give us a minute, and then we'll be right back into it. And then in verse 2, in these coming years, many things will change, but the way I feel will remain the same. So again, you can see how sparse and short and concise the writing is, as is, like I said, the instrumentation on this song. That's verse 2 in its entirety. In these coming years, many things will change, but the way I feel remain the same. What he's talking about is climate change. The way he sees it in these lyrics is that climate change will force the rising of seawater on both, well, internationally, of course, around the globe. And what will happen in the United States is it will put pressure as the water rises on states like New York and California. Those people will have to move inland. So then you have predominantly blue states. And what that means for our international audience, that means predominantly liberal, predominantly Democrat politically states. Those residents will move into the middle of the country to avoid the rising waters, which will be over your head at a certain point. And they will move into the middle of the country to places like Oklahoma, Omaha, Ohio, Tennessee, okay. And those states are predominantly red states, or what we would say Republican states or conservative states. If you're from outside the country, you're not familiar with the blue-red connotation. So in other words, the pressure of millions of people of different political views now living together shoulder to shoulder, because there's no room. There's so many more people in such a tight space. And he's saying in these coming years, many things will change. We don't know what will happen. Would there be a civil war between those two people in those states? We don't know. But he's saying, but the way I feel will remain the same. No matter what happens, if the civil war breaks out between the Democrats and Republicans as the rising waters due to climate change force Americans to live in the middle of the country, it doesn't, no matter what happens at that point, his feelings for his wife will remain the same. It's really an amazing tribute of love to his wife. And of course, we can all see, if you've ever been in a relationship where you felt that strongly about somebody, that a civil war between Republicans and Democrats could break out due to rising waters of climate change, due to climate change. That is love. And that is why he calls it the end of all things. I hope that helps.